What can we say about spirituality and driving?
Well, Shahar, I have to say that one of my, what do you always say? I'm like the chillest person you'll ever meet until I'm behind the wheel of a car, which coincidentally I am right now.
Like, what is it about driving a car that makes people very aggressive and crazy?
I honestly think there's a level of control that goes along with it. I remember my dad telling me a long time ago about a study that they did that said they pretty much observed that the more bumper stickers you had the more bumper stickers you had on your car, the more susceptible to road rage you are, because the psychology behind it is that you ultimately see the road as yours, right? Like there's like a level of control that goes behind it, and you're like upset when people aren't doing the things that you want them to do. I mean, I'll tie some couples counseling stuff into this as well. I always kind of chuckle to myself because I would say one of the most common dynamics I hear from couples about conflict resolution is that they always fight in the car. One always thinks they could be driving better than the other one. I know that in my own marriage too. I love you, Sophia, but that's definitely one of the things that we end up clashing on as well. Is she thinks I should drive faster. I want to be a little bit more defensive, right? Whatever that might be. So it's interesting.
So what is it? What do you think is the environment of the car? So by the way, I want to ask that question, but first, how does that bumper sticker concept goes when we're talking about people in pickup trucks? Because they're the worst, worst drivers. Well, and that is maybe connecting to that point you made about feeling the road belongs to you.
Right.
It's kind of like, I guess, because you're in this big metal case, so this is just your world, and everybody around you is just another something in your way to get where you want to go.
Yeah, right. So, like a sense of power and control and things along those lines, right? If I have this beast of a vehicle, right, then others need to listen to me. yeah, it's kind of like this delusion of grandeur. Yeah, right.
Now here's the thing about air particles. The way they move through the atmosphere, when they are very condensed together, that's called high pressure. And when they are separate from each other, it's called low pressure. So for example, something called Bernoulli's law was observed when particles move through a space, kind of like a tube. It's almost like a tube. And they basically move faster through the tube, the pressure actually lowers down, which is kind of an interesting concept. You would expect the opposite.
Right.
If you condense air into a small space, you would expect higher pressure. But no, it's actually lower pressure. So I always thought of it as an interesting point because it's kind of similar to driving a car. If you have a lot of cars around you, you would be in a higher pressure state, just like the air particles. Mm-hmm. And you'll become more enraged. But if it's just you are more likely, I guess, to be more calm, to be more peaceful. So back to my original question, what is it about being around all these other cars, or being around this kind of a living room in a bit, this living room that moves?
Yeah.
How and what is it about it that make us go crazy sometimes?
I think there's a part of it that's like nervous system regulation, right? I mean, when you have a whole bunch of different cars around you, it almost adds like a level of hypervigilance, right? Because you don't know how these people drive. There's a lot of different makes and models of cars. You get some people that like to weave in and out of traffic randomly. You get people that like
Florida,
to ride
that's
your
very
bumper.
common.
Oh yeah, so we're talking a lot about Florida stuff right now too.
Well, it's true universally.
This is a great practice ground around here for practicing spirituality while driving. But I think there's a level of like hypervigilance, a little bit of anxiety, that it naturally occurs, even if it's just subconscious, right, or something along those lines, because there's so many different variables happening all at once, while you yourself are already experiencing your own level of trying to figure out where you're going, right? You know, trying to keep an eye on, you know, like if we're coming up to a red light as we currently are, right? You know, something along those lines. So, yeah, I would say you're talking about...
So maybe like a little bit of an oversaturation of information in a high-moving
totally
area. Or maybe there's something to also... Because here's what I'm noticing. People are way more distracted when they're driving. Being on their phone, there's like music. Good one. But people are more distracted than ever when they're driving. But driving is such a big part of our life, and it's funny that it can sometimes go against our spiritual practice a little bit. Like sometimes it actually makes us more distracted, make us less aware, or could make us more aware. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting concept. Like we spend a lot of our time driving. At least I know you and me, Michael. We do.
Oh, yeah.
You have a long time drive. So what do you do when you drive? Like do you take that as an opportunity to develop your spiritual practice and to refine your skills, or?
Honestly, I do. You know, because especially when practicing, you know, mindfulness, and especially with my job, you know, as a therapist, and how I recognize that a lot of my energy is going to be shared throughout the day. Sometimes I work very long hours too. Like I'll see clients from 10 in the morning all the way until 8 p.m., right? So I mean, that's a vast amount of time of being on and really sharing in other people's fields, right? So I really like I actually start my car rides in the morning in silence and in kind of focused meditation. I'm not closing my eyes behind the wheel, I promise you that. But like really kind of mindfulness.
Sometimes he drives like he does.
Yeah, right. Setting morning intentions, doing gratitude, focusing on breath, and just kind of really trying to set my mind in the right direction. And then there's various times throughout my ride I've like kind of like parsed them out too. Like I know like as soon as I hit the skyway, right, or something like that, I will turn the radio off or whatever I'm listening to off and just kind of settle into my surroundings, like settle into my somatics, like settle into my breath, settle into like all of my senses. What am I experiencing, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and just trying to cultivate a little bit more awareness in the action, you know. So yeah, I would say that, you know, believe it or not, yes, I do practice some spirituality while driving.
So what would you consider a waste of time when you drive? Like a waste of time, or something that hurts spirituality? It doesn't have to be something negative, but kind of like, what is the like, how do you misuse your time in the car?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that going back to what you're talking about with like distractibility and things like that, if you're too focused on, and I think that this goes with any sort of like, you know, therapeutic property as well. If you're too focused on the end goal, right, getting to a certain place, even in a certain amount of time, right, you know, it can really distract you from the present moment, and it can breed a lot of frustrations and doubts and things like that. So you think about it as like, let's talk about a regular therapeutic goal. Set your goal too lofty right off the bat, it can breed a lot of frustrations, doubts, things like that when you're not getting to where you want to be fast enough, right? And I could say the same thing about being in the car. If you're trying to get to your date or your dinner or your appointment or something like that by a certain amount of time,
right,
and now you're starting to run into all of these different variables that could potentially be pulling you away from that, what's it going to do? It's going to breed frustration. It's going to breed doubt. Like, am I going to make it there on time, right? Things like that. And that's all still kind of going along with that hypervigilance. So I think a big waste, right, in the car is to continue to be distracted, right? So if you are diving too far into the podcast or the audiobook, that you start to lose sense of your surroundings, or you're just kind of rushing to that end result, right? You know, it's kind of really taking away your ability to practice some of the presence and some of the spirituality.
Is that something that you feel like Whoa! Come back, Hugh. It's my fault. I'm trying to be lazy and not hold the phone.
There you go.
I get that. That's on me. But okay, so do you feel yourself, like, do you do that from time to time? Do you find yourself like being like overly distracted when you drive?
Totally. 100%. If I have like if my mind is focused too much on what's going on at home, right? Or maybe I'm, I'm in the middle of listening to a really good audiobook series, and maybe sometimes I'll get really gorged with, like what's happening in the plot or something along those lines, right? And honestly, there's something to be said about like the repetition of I drive the same route to work, I drive the same route home from work, right? And I do that every day, and it's like a 50-minute drive each way. It's the same scenery, it's all that. So it's very easy to kind of like check out as well, right? Almost become automatic with it, right? Or sometimes like, when I leave the office, that first thought of like, oh God, here it comes. I just want to get it over with. Right.
I just want to get it over with.
Just want to get it over with.
That's probably a pretty common feeling. Just like you're rushing home, you want to be done with it already. So I feel so I resonate with what you're saying, because I went through a similar experience not that long ago. Because usually when I drive the car, kind of instinctively, my first reaction is to put some sort of podcast or some sort of something that talks. It's some talking energy in the car. So that's where I used to go through. And sometimes it was a political podcast, sometimes it was something else, but it was usually some sort of a YouTube thing. And lately, Michael knows, because I told him about it in the last retreat we went to, I started dabbling with the idea of storytelling. Like I started like being more into creating narratives and building stories, and I like it. It's kind of it became a very fun pastime for me. And I started noticing me preferring, while I drive my car, to kind of run through narratives in my head, talk to myself. I actually find myself spending more time with my own thoughts, which is kind of a new old thing, right? Because in the past, that was my life. Right. In the past, when I was a kid, we didn't have the big smartphones, etc. So if I remember being in the school bus, and I would just like look outside the window and create like different images and stories in my head. What would happen if I just jump out of the window and start running really fast next to the bus? Like how they would react.
Can I keep up?
And I remember having these thoughts, and I kind of lost a little bit of touch with that, but then started playing a little bit with storytelling. And I found myself doing that in the car, and I'm like, I was instinctively reaching to my phone to open a podcast. It's like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. Mm-hmm. This is taking me out from my own consciousness at this moment. Mm-hmm. Now again, this is not all or nothing. There's probably going to be days where I'm going to go back to it, and sometimes days I'm going to take it away. Right. But lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been, every time the opportunity came to be driving or taking the bicycle, which I take a lot these days, I just put the headphones down, or not when I drive, when I bike. Yep. But I put everything down, and I just kind of talk to myself, run through thoughts, run through feelings, run through stories. Sometimes I pretend as if I'm being interviewed. Nice. That sounds like a entertainment show, like a Conan or something. Like I'm being interviewed, so I'm like, oh, let me tell you about my life. Oh yeah, my life is good. I'm going through this thing. I'm going through this thing. So I feel like I'm getting in touch into something that I haven't been in touch for a while. So for me, it feels like it really elevates a certain creative, spiritual need that I always had, and I feel like the driving became much more of a nicer part of my day than it used to, because it used to be just like I said, it's like pull the phone and just and wait until the drive is over. Now I personally don't have I never had road rage personally. I never did. I have no problem. People are mad at me. I guess I drive very slow. My brother always yells at me. He says, you drive like an old woman. And I said, I'm not in a rush. Where am I? Where do I need to go? I always ask him, where are you going? What were you rushing for? But I understand that kind of concept, like you were mentioning, of I'm getting somewhere, everybody's in my way, and you can really rile yourself up pretty much from 0 to 100 into the car. And I like what you said, like people getting into arguments, couples in the car. Because the car is kind of like a little echo chamber of your own thoughts in a way, and it's an echo chamber in a space that gets bombarded, let's
Right.
call it. It could be attacked.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
you have to be focused, or
Right.
you know, so it's an interesting concept. So what do you think? Here's my question to you. So, what do you think would be humanity if we had like self-driving cars? How do you think the driving experience would be?
Oh man.
With automation. I'm personally very excited about it. I love the idea of just like being in a movie.
Oh, I think
The
it'll be
movie
really
living
cool
room.
too. I mean, it frees you up for so many different things that you want to potentially do, right? So, but I think that. Oh, I think it can go one of two ways. I think it can be. I can see how it would take ultimately everything we're talking about right now and just amplify it, right? Because now you have an opportunity to either just be fully distracted, right?
It's just another living room.
It's just another living room, exactly. Or it can give you a time to actually practice your spirituality and your mindfulness and things along those lines. Now, maybe you have the opportunity to actually take in all the sights around you rather than kind of having your focus pulled in the fact that you don't want to run over anybody, right, or get into an accident, right? So you already kind of have some focus there, but it can give you the opportunity to actually sit with yourself and sit with your environment and actually like enjoy and take it all in and things along those lines.
This reminds me because we went to New York, me and Michael, not that long ago, and we were driving your dad's Miata.
Yep.
And this is the memory, the strongest memory we have from that trip. And so many things happened. If you understood how many things happened in that trip, you'll understand why this is a ridiculous statement. But for some reason, that's the one thing that stuck with us is the Miata.
Yep.
Because the Miata has a stick gear and convertible. It's a bright red car. We put Magnum PI on the Spotify as we were driving around, having a blast. It was like the best thing, and we actually had this great opportunity driving the car to have like a moment where me and Michael talked about our communication, like how can we improve our communication. We had a couple therapy through the Magnum PI
experience.
And though that's a Ferrari, to be fair.
Sure.
But that's fine.
Sure.
Right? I think when
Close
Miata is great. But anyway, so the reason I think that it was such a meaningful experience because we were so much more conscious. Right? We were so much more conscious about what we were doing when we were driving. There was no phone. There was just a little music, but mainly it was kind of a shared experience. You took me to see not Edgar Allan Poe, Mark Twain.
Mark Twain's grave.
Mark Twain's grave. I got to see like Michael's whole childhood tour. We went to like even just something like going to the supermarket became a very fun experience.
Oh yeah, we jumped in the river.
But I'm talking specifically about the car rides because it was conscious. It was a conscious act in a daily life. And this is really what we're talking about. We're talking about practical spirituality, is taking the spiritual practice, which is fundamentally just increasing your consciousness, into daily life. And driving your car is such a normal daily life action. And if we spend it distracted, it's like we're taking an entire chunk of our life and increasing more of that distraction, more of that disconnect,
right?
Rather than just being more conscious, whether you're alone or with a friend, right? My mom does this thing when we're driving the car. This is the time to make all our phone calls. So I'm always hostage in the car while she's making all of her calls to her friends. That's her office. When she drives, that's her office.
That's her office.
And the amount of time I saw her almost getting hit or hitting someone is too disturbing. I said, Mom, stop talking on the phone. You're too distracted.
Oh yeah, it can be terrifying.
So it's her little business office, little headquarters.
Oh yeah.
But so the car can be the car driving experience. In the end, is another human experience, and I feel like all these human experiences, the more common they are, like eating, driving, sleeping, if we can incorporate spiritual practice into them, now we got something.
That's right.
Now we got something cooking, right? Because now you're practicing pretty regularly and deepen your practice on those little things. So, Michael, you already suggested, but let's kind of close with that.
Sure.
Unless you have any other thoughts about this that you think are cool.
No. I think that the only other thought that I had, which might actually kind of go a little bit into the closing, is I like what you're talking about, in the sense of, you're kind of like when you're driving, especially when you're driving by yourself. I mean, this is like, your container, right? And as we always like to talk about, bringing the practice to you rather than needing to go do the practice. I mean, by being distracted, you're denying yourself like a prime spot of just being with yourself, being with your thoughts, being with your emotions, being with your insights, and also being surrounded by some form of nature, be it forest or urban forest, right? Whatever that might be. There's always sights, there's always sounds, there's always smells, there's always things that can bring you back to the present, and you have this like perfect practice spot that's built into your daily routine.
Yeah, exactly. And so the thing I wanted to ask is like, okay, so how do we turn the driving experience, because it really is an experience, right? This is what we're talking about. Almost every aspect of humanity is an experience, and driving is a big one, right?
Definitely.
If you remember the first time you drove your car, how super hyper conscious you were, to the point that even your lower back started hurting just because you were so fixated on the legs. I remember that for myself. I don't know if that's something everybody goes through, but you're so hyper conscious, and then little by little you can start doing other stuff while you're driving. It became like kind of a second nature,
automatic, at some point.
Yeah, which is normal.
Sure.
But how can we make that experience also a conscious experience that is enjoyable, that is peaceful? A peaceful ride makes a big difference rather than an aggressive ride.
Totally.
Right.
I mean, my suggestion would simply be start small and work from there, right? Give yourself like a song's worth of time, right, to actually hit the mute button or the pause button or something like that, to just kind of see what you experience. Right, I mean, the idea sure is to maybe have a full quiet ride, from start to finish. But as we like to say,
that would be my suggestion. By the way, I would say Michael say start small. I say start big. Start big. Why? Just one time, take a whole ride car, and just close the music. No podcast. Just drive and be on your breath. See what comes up. You'll be surprised. It's going to be a hell of an interesting ride. It's kind of its own little meditative experience, almost. Or sometimes I like to play the game, like, can I actually stay exactly on the lines?
Oh, I love that game.
Perfectly.
I love that game.
Like, can I follow the rules, like, perfectly every time? Like, little things like that. And see what comes up for you. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's one
That's a better suggestion than mine.
quiet ride. Now, do that also when there's someone with you. Yeah. Say, okay, now we're going to do the ride, and I want you to be fully quiet.
Yes.
And I want to make it so they're not ready for it.
Try with your partner.
And just like, just quietly sit. Very interesting experience as its own. So, also try turning all the air conditioning on and roll the windows down. That's also a cool experience.
Definitely. 100%. 100%. That's always great.
So this is another episode of Practical Spirituality, how we take little aspects of life and make them spiritual. So today was driving.
Definitely.
Next week we want to do grief, but that's another human experience that is definitely regular, and the older we get, the more regular it is. So we'll talk more about that. So, spirituality and grief. But today, spirituality and driving, or spirituality in cars. It sounds cool. It just came out. We were just driving, and
I just thought it was a good episode to do.
Because I just did it. We made it in next video.
Exactly.
Oh my God, we're practicing. We're practicing while we're preaching. That's good. That's a good sign.
Definitely. And just a reminder to everybody, we will be doing one of our emotional balance through movement workshops in Virginia at Yogaville. That is going to be October 1st. It's a Thursday, all the way through till October 4th, which is that Sunday. So keep an eye out for that, and it's going to be a really good time. It'll be our first time at Yogaville.
Yeah, I'm very excited to go to Yogaville.
That, so it'll be...
and it's so going to be so beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous
up there. Gorgeous time of year.
Besides that, comment, do the liking, do the subscribing. Honestly, that's the thing I don't really care that much. Mostly I want to hear your thoughts. Right. So if you have any thoughts about your experiences in driving, your experiences I would love to hear that. I'm just a curious person. I like to hear people's thoughts and experiences connected to what we're talking about.
I love to hear road rage stories. So.
Yeah, road rage. If you have a road rage, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I yelling?
Yeah.
Like, why am I in a mood? You know what? Now I remember I actually did have like some road rage. But it has nothing to do with the driving. It just was an opportunity where I allowed myself to fully scream and be angry. But not because I was angry about something, because I wanted to experience anger. So I would drive and I would just get a story in my own head and I scream like a crazy person. But after that, I just went through an anger experience in the car.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, just for the sake of doing it.
Yep.
Which is, it's an interesting experience. I never thought of it as being weird until I actually say it out loud right now. It is a really weird thing to do.
Well, you know me, my favorite go-to is always this move. Like, I literally can't believe what just happened.
That's the clone high move.
Exactly.
All right, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we're out to do something else now.
Laters.
Oops, I didn't.